Yeah, today, like as I said in the last class, so we'll see different types of functions. So which commonly like how can we segregated we'll see. So this is what exactly lastly we covered. So first of all, like see here we have like basic types like predefined and user defined are there. So that means like for if some functions are already existing in the Python, so that we can consider as a predefined functions. So these functions we can use directly in the Python wherever you require. So predefined I can say that. And second one user defined, so that means we can write our own functions as per our requirement. So first one predefined means which are already existing in the Python interpreter or Python library, so that we can use directly wherever you require in the program. Maybe some are by directly we can use like print and input, that can be directly int of or typecasting function that we can use directly. But maybe some functions we cannot directly be required to import the respective functions. So that like maybe if you want to write the time dot sleep or the time function or any random functions or any kind of list kind of function, you require to import the respective libraries. And user defined purely it is based on your requirement, you can write your own functions, that is all we called user defined. Example I will tell you, see for example just I want to do the sum. Let's take, we can go with a simple example, sum of the list I can say that. Okay, in a list I have 5 values, I want to do the sum. Let's take example, I will tell you. Okay, so for example li is equal to, I'm writing, so 10 comma 20 comma 30, assume that. Now I want to do the sum of this particular list. So one approach, directly you can use inbuilt function called sum. So there is a function called sum, so where you can just pass the list object, you can able to see the sum of the respective list. So this is the one approach where you can do. This is what we call predefined function. Like the sum is already available in the list, so that we can use directly. See that like this. Okay. So this is what we call predefined. And even let's take example. I want to print the values in the list. Okay. Or else I want to print a simple example. I want to print a date today. Okay. So for that we required a module called date time basically. So import date time. Okay, so now this date time whatever I'm calling here, so it is it's not like it's a predefined, but we can't use directly without importing it. Okay, so now if I want to print it like example, so here date time dot, so date time dot, so we have a function called now. Okay, so this now function will give the time currently what we have in the computer, like see, so 23 third 8 8 16:45, so like this. Okay, so this is also inbuilt function only, and this is some also inbuilt function. The difference between these two functions, if you want to use this particular now, we should import the date time before the usage. But if you want to use the sum, you need not import anything, you can directly use it. So this is what the just want to highlight the difference between the both are predefined only, but some are you required to import into the program the respective packages, and some are not required, directly you can use in the program. So that by understanding and by practice you can get to know that. So but gradually will I will also tell you like what are the like some work can use directly and what we cannot use without importing, we'll see later on. But these are the difference between two types of functions which are available in the predefined category. And now coming to the what we call the user defined. So for example, for the same sum of the list, if you want to create your own function, so then as I yesterday told you, we can create our own. Like example, I create a list sum, and where I'm taking the li as an argument for this. And now for x in li, so in each element of the li it will print. And now I'm doing sum equal to sum plus x, and now finally I'm just printing the sum. So sum. Okay, and here initially I'm initializing sum equal to 0. So now here in this case if you observe, so this is what we call user defined. So this is also will do the sum only, but here the difference if you observe that uh, here we written our own logic, it's not like predefined, but output will be same, there's no difference at all. Output will be same, 60 60 only we are getting, but only the difference here sum is predefined which is already there we are using, but whereas the list sum also a function, but that is written by ourselves, like that is what we call user defined. So user defined function means the functions which we are manually written in any program, so that all we call user defined functions. But the functions which are already available in the Python interpreter compiler are known as predefined functions. So as I mentioned already, in the predefined functions again we have two categories. Some functions we can use directly in the program, and some functions we can't use directly. We require to import the respective packages before using the respective functions. So this is what is the exact difference between predefined and user defined. So does anyone have any doubt? Please ask me as of now. Otherwise, I will go to the next category.
No, sir, no doubts.
Great, perfect. So now there is another category, we have recursion function. Okay. So recursion function means the function, if it is called by itself, I can say that it is also a kind of iteration, but in terms of functions we will write. Okay. So if you want to repeatedly run the same function again and again, then we called it as a recursion function. So recursion means like repeating the function by itself, if you called by itself. Okay. So that is what we call recursion. Like I will tell you a simple example so that you can easily understand. So the same list example also you can do simply by the incrementing the index of the list. We can do that. Either we can also try for factorial of number, that is also we can do the recursion. But before that I just want to show you the same example so that you can easily understand. So definition, some REC I'm putting as a name, so that means recursion. Okay, I'm taking as a obviously li as an argument, and here I'm passing another argument I value. So this I is indicating index. Okay, so now what I'm trying to do here, see, initially obviously the I value should starts with 0, obviously index value, and ends with the size of the list. Okay, so based on that I'm just repeating the logic. See, for example, if okay, I is equal to okay, so length of li minus 1, okay, or else length of li. Okay, so it means what sir it indicating means length of li will give you the size of the list, like maybe 10 or 20. Now if I reaching that size, that indicating that the list is completed, so you don't require to repeat the logic. So you have to stop by stop by that point, right? So the like I'm just writing print what we are required, sum, right? Sum I'm doing. Okay, and now sorry, here not some return sum. Okay, return sum. So that means once we got the final size of the respective list, okay, our loop is done, so we are just returning the sum variable. Okay, but when we are not reaching that, that means still we require to iterate. Okay, so now at that time what I'm trying to do, so sum equal to sum plus. Okay, so sum equal to sum plus, what I'm trying to do, the each element of the list, see, I'm trying to fetching the value from the list, right? We require to add it, right? So obviously if you want to add it, so we require to add the particular element of the respective element in the list. So for that, list dot, we can write list of I, and even I will tell you the simple example factorial also, don't worry. Okay, yeah. So now sum equal to L of I it's giving, or else to avoid the confusion, I'm removing this. Okay, I will do the factorial only first, so that you can easily understand first. Then we can start that other example. So see here, for what I'm trying to do factorial. So you know that factorial means 5 factorial means 5 into 4 into 3 into 1 into 0 factorial. 100 means 100 into 99 into up to 1. That is well clear and everyone knows that. So now I'm using first of all fact of I. That means for given value I'm trying to find the factorial using for loop. So how I'm doing for loop? See, for I in range of, okay, from where it will start, always 1, from up to what number, given number, right? So n plus 1. That means if I'm giving 5, 1 into 2 into 3 into 4 into 5, if I'm giving 100, 1 into 2 into 100, like that we can write. Or else sir, I want to make it the negative loop only, means 5 into 4 into, no issues, you can start with n and end with 0, because it has stop with 1. and each time it has to decrement -1. Anything is okay for me, okay? And now every time we should multiply that number, like 1 into 2, 2 into 3, 3 into 4, like that. So that I'm considering f equal to f into I. So that means f I'm considering as a variable initially with 1. And now finally, if you print the f, so you can able to see, or you can return the f also, it doesn't makes any difference, as I mentioned already. So return f. Now if you consider see fact I of, let's take I'm giving 5, okay? Similarly I'm giving fact I of, let's take I'm giving some 7. Now if you see the output of the both the functions, if you see here, you will get what happened, oh sorry, we are returning, right? So we didn't write any print statement. So if I want to get the output, we should write the print over here. So this clarification already given in the last class. So when we are writing the return statement, we should write print outside. When we are not writing the return statement, then we should write print within the function. So that difference we have to keep on maintain. Yeah, see that. So 120 is the 5 factorial and 7 factorial is 5040. Okay, we got the answer. Now the same logic, see, this is we call iteration, like means I can say that loops. By using loops, I just iterate the values. But the same logic as here also, if you see same logic only, if you observe here also use the for loop. So that means here also the logic I implemented by using iteration. So remember, whenever you are using either while loop or for loop in any particular program, so that indicates you are doing by using iteration logic. But the same thing even you can done by the recursion function also. That is what I'm trying to explain you. So wherever you are using the iteration, in that all places you can also use the recursion functions also, okay? So now here what I'm trying to do here, you see, definition, okay, fact I'm writing as an R. So now here I'm taking the n, definitely, okay? So but only the difference here and there is, here just simply we are iterating, but here we are not iterating, we are using the recursion. That means calling of the same function. Same how we will do now, you can just imagine that. See, one thing is very clear, like whatever the value we are writing in the n, that has to decrement it to until the 1, as I write. So that is what I'm trying to do here. You see, if n equal to 1, so then I'm writing return 1. That means 1 factorial 1, obviously. Else we should repeat the same logic, right? So that is what I'm trying to do. So return f into, so because f into means f should be keep on repeated, so not f, sorry, n into, because n into n minus 1, n minus 1 to n minus 2, so n into, now again call the same function, that is factor of n minus 1. That is what I'm trying to explain. See that. Now what happened, if you see, let's take the same case, if you consider of factorial of 5 only, okay? Here fact I are given, here fact r are given, both should be expected as same output, right? To compare that. So now I'm running, you see both will give you the 120 only, there is no doubt at all. You see that both are 120, okay? But how it is executing, I will explain briefly, please listen everyone, okay? So now when I'm coming to the iteration logic, when we getting the n value 5, straight away the range of 5 comma g, the n value will be replaced with 5, 5 comma 0 and minus 1, and f initially 1. So 1 into initially 5, 5, and then minus 1, 4, 5 into 4, 20, like that. The entire loop will be repeated until you are getting the 1, and the final outcome it is returning, okay? But if you consider here, it's not like that. Every time it will return one case, okay? So now here in this case, the value will be written only once. But here you see, initially you are sending n value as a 5. Am I right? So if I equal to 1, no, no else part. So return, that means again it is returning like, what is that? 5 into, what is that again? Factor of, again 5 minus 1. What is that? 4. Now you see again it won't execute, because by this we can't get the answer. Again it will execute once again. See, Mali again 5 into factor of 4. Where is the factor? Again here only. See that. This is what we call recursion. So the function within the function only it is calling. Now again, what is the n value now? N minus 1 means 4. Now again 4 equal to 1. No, right? Again return n into. That means 4 into, again factor of n minus 1. That is 4 minus 1. That is 3. So like this, the loop will be continuous until you are getting 5 into 4 into 3 into 2 into fact r of, you see, fact r of 1. Now when we are getting the 1, so it won't repeat, because when n value equal to 1, I'm not recursing the function, just throwing the 1. Now in this place it is replacing with 1. Now it will calculate all the values backwards and the final outcome will be returned, that is 120. So this is the way how the recursion will be happening. So generally recursion is not suited for ordinary examples as like your factorial, as like your sum of the numbers. It is best suited for generally when we have a more number of entities. Best example, linked list, trees, graphs. In that all areas, recursion is very much useful when comparatively regular iteration model. Okay, but in the smaller logics, for loop is better than recursion. But I hope you understand. So recursion is more advantage and more useful when you want to recursively calling the many number of what we can say that iterations, or I can say that many number of calls. So that always will help you to recursion. So if straight away I can say the definition wise, if any function called by, see, this is the function called by the same function only. So if any function called by itself, then we called it as a recursion. So like that the loop is forming. So here also loop is there, here also loop is there, but it is using the function we are creating a loop. Here using a looping statement we are creating a loop. So that is a major difference between the looping and recursion functions. But here we called it as a recursion function. So if anyone have any doubt, please ping me, or else please look on that. I will go with the another example with recursion. Mm. So I didn't hear anything, so I can continue. So similarly, we can do the like recursion function as I mentioned, right? So for the list sum also we can try now. Okay. So similarly, we can try with the list sum. Yeah, definition. So
Um,
list sum recursion I'm putting. Okay, so here you're passing as a list. Okay, so that means the list of the values as we are passing to the respective what you call list sum are. Okay, so see here again, as I mentioned already, we can start with like last mean that we want to print the sum of the list is indicatingly whatever the values we have in the list, everything we have to keep a sum and we have to return the ultimately the output, right? So like that, here what I'm trying to do, see here, if so length of list, so length of list means the size of the list will come, so how many elements there in the list. Okay, so that I'm trying to throw by, so here equal to if I, so as I mentioned, I'm also passing the I value. Okay, so if equal to I, so that indicates that we are reaching the last value, so that means end of the iteration. So we have to, at that time we have to stop it. So that means, sorry, return I can say 0. So that means last value else. So here what I'm trying to do, return. So here list of, okay, I plus list some recursion followed by li, okay, comma. So li is the list, actual list, and I should be incremented by 1. So that means we can write here, and before that, so here I should be incremented 1, so I plus 1 I'm writing, okay. Now you see what happened. So initially list is having, in our case, if you consider in our case, it is 3 values are there, okay. So now what I'm trying to do, see, first it is coming to here is the list of 3 values and I value obviously 0, okay. So first length of list, so length of list how much, it is 3, it's not equal to 0. So coming to here, so li of will give you 0, I value initially 0. So li of 0 means first value plus again list sum of list I plus 1. What is the I plus 1 now? 0 plus 1, 1. So now come back to here, again it is not equal to 3. So come back to here, so it will add to the respective value, again come back to like that until you are getting 3, the size of the 3 is equal to 3, then it will return the 0 and will stop the execution. So now I'm executing the same logic. You see what I'm trying to do, print, okay, what is that, list sum r followed by li comma initially as I mentioned start with 0, okay. So now even you don't want to pass the starting indexer, it's always fixed 0, right? So in that case you can use default variable as I mentioned already, so equal to 0 simply, okay. So now we can, if you want to run this, I'm removing the factorial anyway, so I'm just commenting it, and now I'm passing this particular example. So you are getting 63 times, now you see 63 times you are getting. So same logic, see, here I use the recursion function, here I use the inbuilt function, here I use the my own function, that means iteration function, I can that loop function, okay. So it depends on the how you are using or how you are using, I mean the creating the logic based on your input, based on your mindset, you can create it. It doesn't stop you to create something, just you have to you can write anything, okay. So any doubts with respect to 3 types of functions I created as of now? One is user defined functions, second one predefined functions, and third one recursion functions. So in these 3 types of functions, does anyone have any doubt? Okay, great. And here to the continuation, I want to tell you one more point. See here in the factorial, if you observe that I'm just passing a value called 5, okay. So this approach we called call by value, okay. So in this approach we are passing the physical values from one function to another function. So directly we are passing values to the required function. So that is what technically called as call by value. Call by value means we are physically passing the values from the calling function, I mean that from where you are calling to where you are using, that is by call by value. But when you are sending as a collection, that means a list of values or a dictionary or object, so then we call that approach we called as call by reference, because here we are not passing a single value, we are passing a particular object. So call by reference means passing the object from function to function, and when you are using the values to send from one place to another place, then we called it is a call by value. So this is the another point you need to understand whenever you are using the functions. So in generally functions we may pass the directly values, or sometimes we can pass a collections as our object as an input, that both can be possible in Python. So is this point clear for everyone? Any doubts still? Okay. So the last category we have in the functions in Python is lambda functions, okay. LAMBD, lambda functions. So these lambda functions are also called as nameless functions, or else we called inline functions. That means for generally when you want to write a function, we may write a block of lines as a code, but in lambda functions we will write entire code in the single line. So that is the main advantage. And even it doesn't have any predefined meaning names, we can use our own names, like for example. And the keyword also, we are not using def. Instead of def, we can use lambda keyword. Example I will tell you, see here. So I'm just writing a power as a function name, okay, POW as a function name. So equal to, so I'm using a keyword called, as I mentioned, lambda. Whatever the input we are giving before the colon, you have to give, that is we call input. And whatever the value you are giving after that, it is expected as a what we can say that outcome. So now what is our intention here? I want to power of that particular value. So power means obviously into 2, right? So x into x. So if I'm giving x as an input, my output is x square. So that is what we call power. So now if you want to use this function, yes, directly we can use power of, for example, 10 I'm giving. So now you can able to see the, obviously we have to write print, because to print the value. And now whatever the value we are printing here, so it will expected, obviously it is 10 square, that is 100. See that 100 we got it. So like this inline, see entire function be written in the one line only. So no need of writing multiple lines and multiple what you call tab space, that all. So if you want to write the function within the one line, then we can treat them as a lambda functions. So lambda functions can be written in the single line, and that can be consumable in anywhere in the program also. Okay. And the main advantage of the lambda functions, you can even return this lambda function within another function also. So generally, I will tell you one example. See def, let's take f1. Okay, now I'm writing again def f2. Let's take, okay, so let's take here I'm writing return 1. Okay, so now if I'm writing like this, okay, so what is the output? It's very difficult to understand, or what is the expected output of this function is very difficult to understand. But the same thing, if I'm writing like this, so return, okay, some, let's take example f2 colon, as I mentioned, lambda, sorry, not f2, just lambda. Okay, here lambda space, whatever the we want to return, right? Like we don't want to give any output or any input, we can just return the lambda colon followed by, I want to return 1 always, right? So you can write simply like this. Now you can, anyone can understand easily. Okay, so this function is returning some 1, or else let's take example, this function is taking the some x value. Okay, now that x I'm giving to output this one lambda, okay, or else you can give that. And now if I want to do that x into 2 I'm giving, just example I'm telling. So now what happened? So whenever you are using the f1 of some 2, it is returning the 2x of function, 2x as a output. Okay, so like that, whenever you want to write a function within the function, in that case also lambda functions will be useful. But definitely these sort of situations very rarely coming in real time, but still I'm just highlighting. So whenever you want to write a function within the function, lambda functions are more suitable comparatively regular functions. That is what I'm just explaining you people. Okay, so these are the 4 types of functions we have available in the Python, that is predefined, user defined, and recursion function and lambda functions. Okay, along with that I explained how to pass the arguments, that is call by value and call by reference. And also previously I explained the difference between with return and without return, and with arguments and without arguments. So I hope you cleared all these topics. Please go through that. If you have any doubts, please ping me. And next I will start the concept of collections, that is what we call list, tuple, set, and dictionary. These 4 topics will consider as a collection. So that I will start in the next class, that is the Friday class. Okay, so any, if you have any doubt, please ping me personally also in the WhatsApp. Otherwise you can start practice. Any doubt as of now? If you have any doubt, please ping me, Nana, or else we can go good to close the concept.